Esther was watching television the other day and saw something that was disturbing to her, and it wasn't surprising that it was disturbing to her because it was disturbing to the presenters who were presenting it. In other words, they were stirring up trouble with it, and they managed to stir up some trouble in Esther about it. Some psychologists were presenting some pictures to children and asking them which is the bad child. And there were children with very dark skin, and then less dark, and then less dark, and then less dark, and until finally light-skinned children. And what this study showed was that almost all children, regardless of what color their skin was, pointed right away to the dark skin as the bad child and the light skin as the good child. And Esther's first discomfort with the presentation was she really didn't like the way the question was being asked. It was, the children are accustomed to being given multiple choices. And so if the question is, which of these is bad, there was no option for none of the above, which many of them would have selected if they had been given the option. But it wasn't the way it was set up. It was, which of these is bad? And then, as Esther thought more and more and more about it, she got more and more riled about it, as it irritated her that even in being subjected to this type of questioning, it can affect the way someone perceives something. In other words, it could be helping them to form an opinion. But then, as Esther began to ponder this further, she wanted to make her own study. In other words, she began conjuring pictures to show not just to children, but to adults or people of all ages, a picture of someone studying, maybe with a diploma in their hand, and a picture of someone windsurfing. And the question is, which behavior is more appropriate? And Esther is quite certain that even though, if the question were, which would you rather do? There would be many who would say, I'd rather be on that skateboard. I'd rather be windsurfing. I'd rather be doing that fun-looking activity. But if the question is, which of these is more appropriate in terms of the well-being or your financial well-being of your physical experience, now people would, from their programmed point of view, say, that one, I should be studying. And when you think about it, you could set up these questions endlessly. In other words, which is best, which is best, which is most appropriate. Society has programmed everyone to the right answer. So the reason that we thought that it might be fun to begin this gathering today, contemplating the rightness or the wrongness of these questions or these answers or these opinions, we thought it would be a very good platform to help you to understand why it is that you and almost everybody you know is so mixed up about so many things. It was so interesting watching these children because almost all of them, as they said that one, they didn't say that one in a defining term. They said that one, that one. In other words, I'm reaching to give you the right answer by your standards, asker of the question. You're the teacher. You're the one who is standing as the expert. I'm only trying to modify my response so that I get a pleasing response from you. Isn't it interesting? It was such a rare and refreshing thing to see a child say, they're all the same. They're all the same in terms of their goodness. But even those children have been coached by someone who has helped them to understand. In other words, it is not an easy thing to be of this earth, to have been born to someone that got here first, to be an observer of what's going on around your planet, and not have come to all kinds of opinions about all kinds of things. We're not for a moment wanting to guide your opinions or tell you that some of them are inappropriate. But what we are here to emphatically help you to remember is that there is an opinion that really matters, and that is the opinion of who you really are and the source within you. that if you are measuring your thought in the moment, your conclusion in the moment, your desire in the moment, your expectation in the moment, your belief in the moment, your answer to any question in the moment, you can feel what the source within you knows about every one of those questions. In other words, the question is, which is the good child? That was the question. Which is the good child? What a question. What a question. So if you were to put a question like that to the source within you, who is the good one? Or who is the bad one? What do you think the emotion within you would be in your attention to such a question? Do you think the source within you would help you pick out which one is the good one or which one is the bad one? Or do you think the source within you would give you a gut check on the absurdity of the question? In other words, the source within you would feel such absence of willingness or even ability at this evolved state of sourceness to even play in such a screwy game. If you're going to be effective in a game like that, you can only measure your response against the criteria that is physical reality. And you're going to, if you're like most humans, use the criteria that is most available to you. Right now, it's the teacher. You're reading her. What's the answer you want? What's the answer you want? And those little buggers, they can feel, they can get the reading. They know exactly what the reading is. What we're getting at is we want emphatically to help you to remember that the only relationship that you're ever reaching for an understanding of is the relationship between the source within you and how the source within you feels about the subject that you've got active, period. And if you try to measure your answers against what the teacher wants or what your parents want or about what society wants or even what your peer group wants, you're going to be upside down and all around, scrambled really in trying to cater to these outside the vortex, disconnected, not in alignment with source criteria that surround you so much in your culture of socialization. In a culture of socialization, the premise goes something like this. We're all in this together, and we could be a lot of trouble for each other if we don't control the behavior of each other significantly. That's really what the basis of socialization is, because socialization sort of means, well, I'm surrounded with other people, and other people affect me. And what we want you to understand, the reason that that's such a flawed premise that doesn't serve you at all is because the only thing that causes any effect to happen to you is the vibration that you've got going on. Now, it's not an easy thing to live with people around you and not be having vibrational knee-jerk responses to what you're seeing. You've been trained by the first teacher who said, what's the right answer here? Because you are crowd pleasers. Your teacher pleasers, your parent pleasers, your lover pleasers, your other people in traffic pleasers. And all of that is all right unless you have given up your awareness of your relationship between your true guidance and you've replaced it with anything other than your emotions. Does that make sense to you? It's an interesting thing to watch humanity cluster together geographically and forming opinions just based upon the geography. It's really interesting to watch you gather together in ethnic groups or religious groups, forming opinions based upon what surrounds you. And we want to submit to you that, in fact, it is not possible not to be affected by what's around you. That's just like you knew it would be. You knew that as life surrounded you, you would, from your magnificent, important, singular vantage point, personal and selfish vantage point, you knew that you would come to personal preferences. You knew before you came into this body that that would happen. But what you have forgotten is that that preference is a vibrational wave that the larger part of you then incorporates into its evolution and holds as a steady signal for you to use as guidance. And when you measure your opinions and beliefs against this powerful signal that is being offered to you at all times, you begin to understand that the only thing that ever bothers you is one singular thing: you getting crossways of the energy that is you. And almost 100% of those that you are and those that you know do it all day, every day, in the quest to give the right answer to that teacher. So if we were standing in your physical shoes and we had children who were being subjected to teachers who often in very well-meaning ways are wanting to guide them toward opinions about things, we would say to them on a really regular basis, what do you think? What do you think? Because what you think matters too. What you think matters too. And then we would say, and you know what? Even more important than what you think is how you feel when you think what you think. We would say to our children every day, when you gave that teacher that answer, how did it feel? How did it feel? And to a child, it is our promise to you, if they were given an opportunity to really feel how they were feeling when they were making their choice, they would have said, I didn't like it. I didn't like the question. I didn't like it. And then, if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would say, then that means that the real answer to that question was different than the one they evoked from you. And then we'd take it further. So what would you have liked to have said? Well, I would have liked to have said all the same. But that wasn't a choice they gave me. But I would like to have said all the same. Then we would say, as their parent mentor, how does that answer feel? I like that answer. And then we would powerfully and lovingly, with all of the focus that we could muster, we would say, then, sweet one, that is the right answer. In other words, we would help our children, we would help ourselves, we would help anyone who comes anywhere near us understand that your personal opinion matters enormously. But the only way you can really come to any clear understanding of what your true personal opinion is by the way you feel when you utter it. When you find someone who has behaved in a way and you deem it wrong, we just want to ask you, how does it feel when you come to that conclusion? And what's really interesting is almost everyone would say, what happened and what I'm observing is what's causing me to feel bad. And we say, not true at all. Seems like it, we know, because you didn't feel bad before you focused on that. So it seems like it's that behavior which you would like to take back. You would like them to have never done it. You would like them to never do it again. You would like them to admit their culpability. But what's making you feel bad is not the behavior you're focused upon. What's making you feel bad is the discordant opinion that you have formed in your pointing at them and calling them the bad one, when the source within you will not do that regardless of their behavior. Interesting, isn't it? Don't you want to feel the guidance that you were born with present in every thought that you think? Don't you want to know who you really are? You tell us that. You say, I want to fulfill my reason for being. I want to find my life's purpose. I want to get on my path. I want to be all that I can be. I want to feel good. I want to be good. I want to be of value. I want to be an uplifter. We hear these things from you all day, every day. And we say, the answer to all of these things that you fervently desire is alignment with who you really are, and nothing less will serve you.